Hey folks, welcome back to Plastic Planes. I'm your host, R.R. Slugger, and today we're going to be ditching the runway in favor of the water. This is set 7214. Released in 2004, this promotional airline set depicts a cargo seaplane with a striking red, white, and gray color scheme. Despite its small size and lack of included alternate build, I promise, there is still a lot to talk about here, believe me. Let's start with the name. As you can see from the box, there simply isn't one listed. We get the specially made for airline companies blurb that most of these promotional sets have, but that's it. There's really nothing else here to work with. Bricklink calls this set Waterplane, but I have no idea where that name comes from. Every other website I saw has some sort of variation of the generic World City promotional airline set moniker, but there's a distinct lack of consistency to be found here. I think the Bricklink listing was just named by someone who felt it looked like a waterplane. Which is kind of hilarious because the term waterplane isn't really a thing. Seaplane is the far more common terminology, and this overarching category can be broken down into two types: float planes and flying boats. Float planes are typically smaller aircraft who are defined by having pontoon-like floats that make contact with the water. The fuselage of the aircraft remains suspended above so that the drag is diminished and the lift required for takeoff can be achieved. Flying boats are typically larger vessels with more powerful engines. This added thrust is needed because the hull of the craft is what makes contact with the water, increasing the drag significantly. When we look back at our set to try to classify it, we're left with a bit of an enigma. The craft is small enough to be the size of a typical float plane, but yet the hull of the vessel does make contact with the water. I think flying boat would be the correct category, but this is a tiny example of such a craft. To make matters worse, the prop engines are mounted as far from the fuselage as possible, pretty atypical for any seaplane. There is a reason for this, however. For some reason, these engines can be orientated into a vertical takeoff and landing position, turning this into some kind of VTOL seaplane. As far as I'm aware, this is something that just doesn't exist in real life. Not to mention that the iteration depicted here would likely never gain the lift necessary to break contact with the water with propellers that small. Additionally, most real-world VTOL aircraft feature dual vertical stabilizers for added balance, something that's missing here as well. Honestly, there's enough strangeness going on that it makes me wonder who designed this thing. Oh, Henrik Anderson? Designer of over 100 LEGO sets and former head of the model team department? The guy who managed to churn out one of the best LEGO biplanes in a day, and off the clock no less? Okay, I'll retract my incredulity. This guy knows his stuff. Still, this airline promotional set is weird, and somehow that's strangely in keeping with World City as a theme. It's got plenty of alternate history, or maybe alternate future designs, steeped in a heavy coat of dystopianism. It's a vibe, that's for sure. So maybe the term waterplane is the correct choice here. An aircraft with such bizarre design idiosyncrasies is surely befitting a class all to its own. World City just does things differently. We're not meant to question their choices. Well, actually I do want to question their choices. Or at least I want to question the choices of the pilot here. Minifigures are usually not the focus of Plastic Planes as a series, but in this case, I question the pilot's attire. They're wearing a really snappy double-breasted suit and tie with gold flight wings pinned on the jacket. Their sharp pilot's hat and confident smile would make any passenger comfortable to fly with them. But that's the thing. This is a single-seater cargo plane. There are no passengers. Who the heck is this pilot showing off for? I could be wrong, but shouldn't they be wearing something more utilitarian, or at the very least water-resistant? This is a seaplane after all. I guess dress for the job you want, not the job you have. So now let's get into the meat and potatoes of this set, because there are an inordinate number of rare and exclusive pieces included here, especially for a promotional set like this one. Remember, when we took a look at Sky Pirates, there was only one set exclusive piece. Here, there are 5. Firstly, both the wedge slope at the nose and the vertical stabilizer at the rear are set exclusive. These are printed parts, by the way. That caught me completely off guard. I was expecting stickers. A promotional set with exclusive printed pieces? Plastic Plane fans are dining well tonight. There's actually one more set exclusive printed piece included here, and this one is a total tragedy if you ask me. Within the cockpit is a beautiful set of flight gauges printed on a dark bluish gray 1x2 tile. This print design was only ever used once previously, printed on an old light gray tile prior to the color change of 2004. That means that this awesome flight gauge design is actually series exclusive to World City. I think this is such a shame because this design could and should have been used in plastic planes for years afterwards. I guess World City had to quarantine this design, just like their weird pizza. The rest of the LEGO world just isn't ready for this kind of stuff. There are still 2 more set exclusive pieces, and these 2 can be found securing the cargo hold. This dark bluish gray hatch and red hinge fulcrum are both molded in colors we'd never see them in again, so it's nice to have the variety here. The cargo hold itself is rather small, though that same comment can be made for the plane as a whole. Apparently, World City was in dire need of a VTOL aircraft that could land on water and carry exactly 2 suitcases and a backpack. Sarcasm aside, all 3 of these articles are actually pretty rare. The light bluish gray backpack in particular was only ever worn by Tim of Time Cruisers fame in his final appearance in a LEGO set. Since that set he appeared in was also part of the World City series, I think we have to assume that this is his bag. I wonder what happened to cause them to be separated. Maybe this government agent tailing him knows something about it. Anyways, there's one final feature included in this set that I just have to mention. When opening the box, I was surprised to find rubber bands included inside. What? Why? What kind of play feature for an aircraft would require the use of rubber bands? Well, in building this set, I found my answer. Turns out, the floats can rotate independently from the fuselage. I guess that answers my question on why this set included rubber bands, but it does raise an entirely new question. Why can the floats rotate independently from the fuselage? What possible design advantage does this confer? I just don't understand. Maybe this feature was included in order to simulate the movement of water underneath the aircraft, but that really just doesn't work when the hull of the fuselage also rests on the water. I think this play feature, while novel, is a total misfire. Still, its inclusion is fairly unobtrusive, and the weirdness of it all is right at home in World City. Sluggin' World City, man. See, I told you there would be a lot to talk about with this one. What started as an innocent plastic planes purchase turned into a layered descent into crazy town for me. Hopefully I've been able to capture my sheer exasperation with this set in this video. Don't get me wrong, I still think it's cool, but there's a madness to the method here, and I'm not as trusting of that confident smile after our pre-flight inspection. Maybe it's for the best that there aren't any passengers on this one. Anyways, thanks for watching, everyone. I've been your host, RR Slugger, and until next time, keep your eyes to the skies.